Primordial Desolation. I am the Dragon Ancestor. I choose for the dragon race to retreat from the very beginning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 615. What do you want to do? Let me tell you, I had read those 2 pages before I ate them, and I knew what the methods were. If you don't kill me and are willing not to interfere with the Buddha's matter and rescue him, maybe I can consider telling you the contents. But if you kill me, you will never know it for the rest of your life. After Shen Long heard this, he smiled and said to him, "Of course I won't kill you easily. But don't forget to take the things out of your stomach. It's okay." After saying this, Shen Long suddenly stepped forward and held the Holy Mother of Water Spirits on the table. Then he picked up the knife, pointed it at the belly of the Holy Mother of Water Spirits, and tried to insert it. The Holy Mother of Water Spirits hurriedly reached out to block Shen Long's arm, shaking his head and looking at him. "You can't do this. Didn't you say you wouldn't let me die easily? But if you insert such a big knife and pull my stomach open, I will definitely die by then." After hearing this, Shen Long didn't have any opinions at that time. "What are you afraid of? Is it possible that he is not sure about the strength of his teammates? If I say you won't die, you won't die. When the time comes, I will take out the things and sew your belly shut, and use my spiritual power to heal your wounds. You'll be fine. The real torture will come later, having done so many bad things. You want to die so easily." After Shen Long said these words, the Water Spirit Mother suddenly felt that what she did this time seemed to be wrong. If she hadn't swallowed that thing just now, Shen Long would have died. Long would not treat him like this. She took a deep breath and said to Shen Long, "Don't do anything to me. I can tell you all the contents. This time I will definitely tell you. Don't kill me." After hearing this, Yazan next to him immediately retorted that he wanted Shen Long to do it. Shen Long had the same idea as Yazan. If it had been before, Shen Long might have listened to the Holy Mother of Water Spirits and not touched her, but now he doesn't believe it at all. Mother Water Spirit can do such a thing, and maybe she will continue to do it in the future. He is not sure whether what Mother Water Spirit told him is true or not, so he might as well take a look at what is written inside with his own eyes. "What is? I'd better keep your words in my stomach and wait for me to pick them up later. I don't believe you now." At this time, Our Lady of Water Spirits realized what it means to regret too late. If she had known earlier, she shouldn't have been so arrogant just now. "There is no use regretting now. I know you may not believe what I say, but don't do anything to me. I will spit it out right now." After saying this, Our Lady of Water Spirit put her hand into Shen Long's throat and dug it in front of Shen Long, and quickly vomited out a bunch of things. Shen Long found 2 pieces of paper inside and put them. He opened the 2 pieces of paper and looked at them. There were already some vague words inside. He looked carefully and found that there was indeed a solution in them. Yazan next to him pinched his nose and came closer, looking at the words inside. "Happy, this is definitely the solution, and we are all saved now." Shen Long threw the 2 pieces of paper in the face of Our Lady of the Water Spirit, and then went out without saying a word. Before going out, he also closed the cell door. Chapter 616. After they went out, the first thing Shen Long did was go to the place where the injured dragons were. When he arrived, he saw that the expression of the dragon inside was not very good. He seemed to have expected something, and saw that the dragon lying on the bed was dead, and everyone's current situation was also very uncomfortable. Good. Shen Long sighed. After all, he was a step too late. This was all the fault of Our Lady of Water Spirit. If Our Lady of Water Spirit hadn't been reluctant to tell him, he might have come over and cured the dragon long ago. It wouldn't cause the dragon on the bed to look like this. "Don't be afraid. I have found a solution. This time I came here specifically to help you get rid of those bugs on your body." Everyone who was originally depressed opened their eyes after hearing what Shen Long said. They looked at Shen Long as if he was the savior. "Don't worry too much. Whoever's sickest will get it first." After Shen Long said this, a dragon came over with a little dragon in his arms and explained to Shen Long, It turned out that the last time Shen Long came over, the little dragon was in a coma, and no one thought about it. He got up to show these little dragons to Shen Long. It happened that his resistance was the weakest and the disease was the most serious now. Shen Long took a look at this little dragon and found that the little dragon was also in a state of dying. The poor child didn't even canoe escape this poison, just put it over there. The dragon glanced at Shen Long and obviously believed in Shen Long. He quickly placed the little dragon next to him. Shen Long stepped forward and slowly poured his spiritual power into the little dragon's body. When the other dragons saw this, they wanted to stop them, but they thought that Shen Long was their great benefactor and would naturally not do anything to harm them. So they stopped and looked at Shen Long quietly. Obviously it's not clear what Shen Long wants to do. After all, those spiritual powers shouldn't exist in their dragon gods. If ordinary dragons exist, there will definitely be problems with the body. What's more, this little dragon asked Shen Long to use the spiritual power after inputting it. He slowly followed Xia Long's meridians to the position of Xia Long's Danshan, then he used his own spiritual power to shape a golden elixir for Xia Long. Soon, Xia Long woke up that day, and after waking up I discovered that there was something not quite right about my body. You don't have to be too afraid. I have made some modifications to your body, and now you have a golden elixir on your body. You can try to use the spiritual power in the golden elixir to force all the bugs out of your body, or kill them all. After Shen Long said this, the little dragon still didn't quite understand, so Shen Long taught him step by step how to use the spiritual power. Soon Xia Long understood, and then his body began to emit energy. There was some light. I saw the bugs inside Xia Long's body began to squirm and crawl out. Not long after, a bunch of red bugs appeared in front of Shen Long. Shen Long contained all these bugs in bottles, and then destroy it with spiritual power. This is my method. I don't know who else is going to come and follow your condition. I guess I can't save too many at once and can only save 2 a day. Chapter 617. In fact, before Shen Long said these words, he knew that if he told them the truth of the matter, there would probably be a situation where everyone would be vying for him to save them. He didn't want to see that kind of phenomenon happen, but what he didn't expect was that these dragons were much more qualified than he thought, and everyone took the initiative to let the next more serious patient out. I treated him according to the method just now, and soon the dragon recovered. I saw this method in ancient books. I never thought that you dragons could also shape the golden elixir. You 2 dragons who have already shaped the golden elixir can continue to practice, and you can also use the spiritual power in your body to help you. If you want, you can also read some human books. The cultivation of spiritual power in them will also be useful to you. The 2 dragons were particularly happy after hearing what Shen Long said. The other dragons felt a little frustrated. One dragon suddenly asked, "Can you only save 2 dragons with your ability? Yes or no? None of our other dragons can be saved?" Shen Long naturally shook his head after hearing this. Seeing this, the dragon also breathed a sigh of relief. "I can only save 2 dragons a day, which is pretty good considering my strength. According to records in ancient books, it takes 10 people to save 1 dragon. But don't worry, I will report this matter to Fuxi after I go back and ask him to send more people here. It is estimated that you will all be able to recover in a short time." After Shen Long said this, he left here. The 2 recovered dragons were very lively. They no longer had to worry about whether there would be that kind of bugs in their bodies. The other dragons were also looking forward to removing the goo bugs. Shen Long didn't want to disappoint them, let alone make them suffer. At first, Shen Long regarded them as his mission to complete, but when he really got in touch with them and took them seriously, these dragons became him in a way people. He will naturally treat his own people very seriously. Then Shen Long took out a pigeon, and he tied a string of words on the pigeon's feet. The note on it said this and this. Finally he let the dove fly, and when he got up the next morning, he saw 30 or 40 people coming outside the dragon palace. All of these people were sent by Fuxi, and none of them were skilled. It is estimated that it can help a lot of dragons. Because Shen Long is afraid that someone will use that kind of bugs to deal with the dragon clan in the future, so he specifically asked for more people, hoping that other dragons that were not disturbed by the bugs would also have room to practice. Shen Long will bring everyone together. He brought them to the location where the dragons were, and then worked with everyone to successfully treat all the dragons. Looking at the vigorous appearance of these dragons, he knew that this time the system would give him a lot of experience, and he would also gain more experience. Give certain rewards. Because Shen Long considered that everyone has a lot of experience, he suggested that everyone help a group of other dragons. Naturally, those people had no objections and obeyed Shen Long's instructions. Shen Long discussed with Yazan after a while. He felt that instead of being so passive and waiting for the next time to practice, it is better to try his best to prevent it from the beginning. He wanted to help all the people of the East China Sea Dragon clan build a body that can be cultivated. Chapter 618. Those who have been disturbed by insects must use golden elixir to force out all the insects. As for those who have not been disturbed by bugs, they only need to use some spiritual power to guide their bodies to undergo a small transformation. Yazan naturally had no objection after hearing this. On the contrary, he was even more happy that Shen Long could think of them in this way. Now that you have an idea, just follow what you said. Without much effort, all the dragons in the East China Sea Dragon Palace have undergone some transformations. If they want to resist any insects, they only need to practice hard on their own. Take them out before sending those people away. He specially wrote a letter and asked them to take it back to Fuxi. Shen Long did not expect that Fuxi would be so helpful and send so many people, which showed that Fuxi still felt grateful in his heart. He had helped Fuxi so much before him. He was busy, so he was not stingy at all. After sending these people away, the fake pixie Shen Long came to the cell again, because he had some things that he wanted to ask carefully about the person who was locked up before. Our Lady of Water Spirits. When he arrived, Our Lady of Water Spirits was already lying on the ground weakly and unable to get up. Even though she was very powerful, she was still a little unbearable after being hungry for so many days. If she hadn't been afraid that she would be in the cell if opening it would cause the prisoners to come out and attack him, I'm afraid she would have gone in and eaten those people. In the past 2 days, she had also seen the horror in the cell. Every day, someone would die in the cell, and that person's the cause of death was that she was dismembered and eaten by everyone. Those people were thinking about how to escape every day. She was afraid that one day the cell could not hold up and would be destroyed by others. But she soon found that her worries were unnecessary. Yes, because Shen Long arrived. When Shen Long arrived, she kept staring at him and took the initiative to admit her previous mistakes. I know that all the things I did before were wrong. Don't worry, I won't do them again in the future. When she said these words, she sincerely admitted her mistake to Shen Long and promised that she would never do this again. Hope you can believe me. Mother of the Water Spirit said very sincerely. Her eyes were wet, which made people feel distressed. Shen Long didn't react much after hearing this. The things she did can never be forgiven. If possible, he hoped that the Lady of the Water Spirit would be punished. A bigger punishment. But before that he still had some things he wanted to ask the Water Spirit Virgin. Is Pixie one of yours? After Shen Long said this, he saw the Water Spirit Madonna in front of him and smiled. You're talking about that person. He's not a Pixie at all. I'm telling you what happened, and I hope you'll be nicer to me. After she said this, she was afraid that Shen Long would regret it, so she said it immediately without caring whether Shen Long agreed or not. Shen Long listened carefully and realized that it was not a Pixie at all, since it was pretended by one person, and that person is one of the people under Buddha at that time. I put the real Pixie into a relatively hidden hole, and I put the man into a hole that could be easily discovered. It happened that the man Beizi discovered was the Buddha's man. Chapter 619. After hearing this, Shen Long continued to inquire about information from her, but he found that Our Lady of Water Spirits didn't know anything, not even that person's name. I just know that that person is very powerful and can disguise himself and become someone else. As a result, Shen Long never discovered it after so long, and even thought that the real rebel was Pixie himself. I know everything you said, but it's impossible to let you out. Although I did not answer what you just said, I can tell you now that I will not do anything to you. I will give your name to the people in the dragon group to see how they deal with you." After Shen Long finished speaking, he saw the face of the water spirit mother twisting, looking particularly strange and terrifying. But Shen Long didn't care. "I don't care what you are thinking now. Even if you have resentment in your heart, you have to endure it. Why are you trapped and unable to get out now?" When Yazin saw the ugly expression of Madame Shui Ling, she suddenly became happy. He laughed naturally. When he laughed, Madame Shui Ling's expression became even more unnatural. Madame Shui Ling could hardly bear it anymore. She stopped. Just when she was about to get angry, a prisoner next to her suddenly screamed, and several people looked over. This is exactly what happens every day. People are killed alive and then eaten. Such a scene in time. Mother Water Spirit couldn't stand it no matter how many times she watched it. Who knew if the people inside would come out and eat her one day? What's more, she was always hungry. Sometimes she saw those people eating. It smelled so good that she even wanted to go in and eat together. But fortunately, she could endure it. How about it? Isn't it scary? But these people all deserve their punishment. Everyone locked up here is a good person. Everything they suffer is destined. But you are different. At this moment, Yazin suddenly turned around and looked at the water spirit mother, which made the water spirit mother feel cold all over. He always felt that something was wrong with Fuxi's eyes when he looked at him, as if he wanted to kill him in the next second. These people have never killed any dragon. The most extreme thing is that he only beat a dragon half to death. The person who killed the dragon last time was already dead. Our Lady of Water Spirit finally understood. It was obvious that Fuxi did not intend to let her go. She also knew that the people of the dragon clan had always cherished their companions. Once their companions were killed, they would do everything possible to avenge them. Before, he didn't take it seriously, thinking that with the observation skills of these dragon people, they would definitely not be able to find him. But he was careless and didn't even think of Shen Long. "Why are you telling me this? Do you really want to kill me?" The Guworm was given to me by Buddha, and the method was thought up by him and others. "If you want revenge, go to that fake pixie, not me." The water spirit mother took a few steps back and wanted to escape from here, but the surroundings were sealed tightly. Even the light couldn't get in, let alone let herself escape. "Don't be so afraid." Yazin smiled and slowly approached the water spirit mother. Only then did the water spirit mother realize that she regretted it. But everything was over. "Shen Long, please help me." "Only you can help me now," water spirit mother shouted and wanted to run towards Shen Long. Chapter 620. If Shen Long avoids it, she can go out through the passage behind Shen Long. If Shen Long doesn't avoid it, he can help her block it. But what she didn't expect was that Shen Long kicked her in the chest and knocked her to the ground. "Still have the strength to resist?" "Yes, it means you won't be dead for a while." When Shen Long spoke, his tone was extremely cold, which made Our Lady of Shui Ling feel that the temperature of the water around her had dropped several points. Yazin stepped forward and grabbed the hand of Our Lady of Shui Ling and led her out. But Our Lady of Shui Ling was still unwilling to go out. She struggled. She was crying and shouting, but no one would help her. Yazin and Shen Long hated her. Those in the cell had been locked up for so long and were already numb. "I don't want to die." Perhaps she had a premonition of Yazin's murderous intent. She used her unprecedented strength. She broke free with one hand, grabbed the railing of the cell next to her, and pulled herself back with all her strength. At this moment, squatting in the cell, the sitting person suddenly ran toward him with his mouth open like crazy. Only then did the water spirit mother realize what a stupid move she made by putting her hand here. She hurriedly curled her hand back, but in the end it was too late. "Ah!" Water spirit mother screamed and looked at her bloody hands and the man with her blood on his mouth. Before she could react, Yazin completely subdued her and pulled her outside. During the whole process, Shen Long remained silent. He watched quietly. This was a matter of the Dragon Clan. Although he was now also a member of the Dragon Clan, he could even be regarded as the leader of the Dragon Clan. But in the way of people within the Dragon Clan, he tried his best to. It's better not to interfere, not to mention that he doesn't want to interfere with the affairs of the Water Spirit Madonna. "You deserve everything," Shen Long said to Our Lady of Water Spirits for a long time. Yazan took Our Lady of Water Spirits to a small wooden house and looked at her with a strange smile. "Do you like this house? It's something that's sunk above you, and you should be more familiar with it." After saying this, Yazui pushed Madame Shui Ling into the wooden house and locked the lock before Madame Shui Ling could react. "Enjoy it in there. As for how soon I let you out, it depends on my mood." After Yazan said this, his originally terrifying expression dimmed, and he frowned slightly. Although he had avenged those dragons who died in vain, he still did not feel any joy in his heart, and even felt a little sad. He did not. "I don't want to punish others in such a vicious way. Don't think too much. If she can be cruel enough to treat you like this, why should you?" When Shen Long saw Yazan's tangled expression, he knew what he was thinking. At this time, screams came from inside the room, and the atmosphere became more subtle. Both of them were extremely quiet, listening quietly to what was going on inside. "Scream, let me go." The water spirit mother couldn't stand this place anymore. There were bugs everywhere, squirming towards her. At first he felt nauseated, but when she discovered that the bugs would burrow into her flesh, she became terrified. As soon as the water spirit Madonna opened her mouth to call for help, a long worm wormed its way into his mouth. He could even feel the worm squirming in her throat. Our Lady of Water Spirits no longer dared to speak. She faced the terrifying things in this room, unable to scream or escape. If she had known that it would end like this, she wouldn't have done anything. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621. Shen Long kept listening to the cries inside. If it had been before, he might have hesitated whether to let the people inside out. After all, this kind of thing is not something that ordinary people can bear. It would be too cruel to let a little girl enter the city. But he no longer has this idea when it comes to Our Lady of Water Spirit. If it weren't for Our Lady of Water Spirit, their dragon clan would not have lost 2 dragons at all. Moreover, so many dragons have suffered such heavy sins that they cannot be treated in a simple way. Offset. Since Yazan wanted to punish him like this, Shen Long would naturally not have any objections. When Yazan listened to the cry for help from the water spirit mother inside, his expression was a little strange, and he couldn't tell whether he was excited or sad. Yazan always felt that even if he paid, he would not feel that kind of pleasure. The 2 dead dragons would never come back. "It's all my fault that the Dragon King of the East China Sea has been in poor health some time ago, and I have always been in charge of the Dragon Palace. But I didn't manage the Dragon Palace properly. If something like this happened, if I had thought of it earlier, maybe the Dragon Palace wouldn't be like this." Dragon Palace has been very difficult recently, with a lot of troubles, and it can't stop at all. If it weren't for Shen Long, maybe their East China Sea would have disappeared long ago, and Shen Long had just left and handed over Dragon Palace to him. Since he had already, such a big matter has not been dealt with yet. This just proves that he does not seem to have the ability to manage the Dragon Palace. When the Dragon King of the East China Sea recovers after a while, the Dragon Palace must be handed over to the Dragon King of the East China Sea again. "No, you've done a great job." I don't know why, Shen Long always felt that even the Dragon King of the East China Sea would not handle this matter. After a while, the crying inside became weaker and weaker, and after hearing it, Yazan came up without saying a word. He opened the door and dragged the people inside out. At this time, Shen Long discovered that Our Lady of Water Spirit was completely different from when she went in. When she came out, her clothes were somewhat damaged, and her flesh and blood were covered with its full of bugs, constantly worming their way inside. Her current appearance looks really unappetizing, but I am willing to continue watching. Let her bear the feeling of being bitten by those bugs and see if she dares to do it again in the future. As soon as Yazan finished speaking, Our Lady of the Water Spirit raised her head and begged them bitterly, "Don't worry, I won't dare to do this kind of thing again. This is the last time, please let me go." After hearing what Our Lady of Water Spirit said, Shen Long just glanced at her lightly without any reply. He had already believed in Our Lady of Water Spirit before, But how did Our Lady of Water Spirit repay him? She deceived him again and again. If he hadn't reacted at the time, he might still be deceived now, and would have paid a heavy price. So he would never believe anything he said in the future, and he must make the Water Spirit Mother realize what he had done. The mistake he made him afraid to make it in the future. Besides, if the crimes committed by Our Lady of Water Spirit were placed elsewhere, she would have been dead long ago. Our Lady of Water Spirit wanted to get close to Shen Long to continue her quest, but Shen Long looked at the bugs on her body, but felt a little disgusted and took 2 steps back. "Sorry, I can't save you." Then Yazan locked up the Water Spirit Madonna again. Chapter 622. Yazan glanced at Shen Long, and obviously did not expect that Shen Long would do such a thing. He had already been prepared for Shen Long to plead for mercy and release the Water Spirit Mother. And Shen Long also knew that he was not a good person at all, and he would not show mercy to this kind of thing. So he stood outside and started discussing the future of the Dragon Clan with Yazan, completely ignoring the crying, as if he didn't hear it at all. The crying inside stopped when he knew that these people would not pay attention to him, as if he had accepted his fate and silently accepted the punishment inside. And Shen Long glanced at Yazan and had a certain idea in his mind. "I don't know what you think, but I can confirm that you are a good successor. If the entire Dragon Clan is handed over to you, there will be no problems. You are brave and decisive at critical moments. Although you still lack some experience, you have done enough for Donghai. This matter has been solved by me. The Dragon King of the East China Sea is not in good health. If he continues to take over the East China Sea, if so, it would probably be difficult for some people to do so." After Shen Long said these words, Yazan immediately realized that Shen Long was going to hand over the entire East China Sea to him. His eyes lit up. He didn't expect Shen Long to trust him like this, but he still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Those who believed in themselves shook their heads. "Thank you for your willingness to believe me, but I still feel that I am a little inexperienced and can't handle those things better than the Dragon King of the East China Sea." After hearing this, Shen Long shook his head and patted his shoulder, saying that there was no need to worry about those things. Then the man left here and went to the place where the Dragon King of the East China Sea rested. Shen Long sat down after seeing the Dragon King of the East China Sea. And the Dragon King of the East China Sea just heard what happened recently from the maid. He looked at Shen Long with eyes full of gratitude, and he also felt some self-blame in his heart. "Originally, I should handle this matter, but I never thought that I would need to trouble you to handle it." After the Dragon King of the East China Sea finished saying these words, he sighed for a long time. He didn't know when his body would get better. Maybe he wouldn't get better in his whole life. After all, at his age and having suffered so much torture, it is very difficult to get over it. After hearing this, Shen Long comforted him a few words and then expressed his thoughts. When he said that he wanted to hand over the East China Sea to Yazan, the Dragon King of the East China Sea became special, excited. Shen Long originally thought he would disagree, but what he didn't expect was that the Dragon King of East China Sea specifically agreed, and he had had this idea long before. Although Yazan is a bit reckless in doing things, he has become a qualified heir under your training. Besides, with me here to help him, Donghai will definitely be better than before. I don't know how long I can live with this old bone. It would be too unsafe for Donghai to be in the hands of someone like me. Shen Long nodded after receiving it. It seems that the Dragon King of East China Sea had the same idea as him. The two of them coincided with each other. In this case, I will leave the affairs of Xia to Wei Wei. You can recuperate here and be sure to take good care of yourself. I will see that Donghai will get better and better in the future. After saying this, Shen Long left the Dragon King of the East China Sea, found Yazan, and told her about the matter. Yazan was obviously a little surprised when he heard it. Chapter 623. Obviously, he did not expect that the Dragon King of East China Sea would trust him so much. Ever since, he also had an idea in his mind. Even if he lost a lot of lives, he would protect the East China Sea and not let everyone disappoint him. After Shen Long arranged things here, he left here and went to Fuxi's side. After he met Fuxi, Fuxi was very happy to arrange for drinks and wanted to have a good drink with him, but Shen Long refused. Now is not the time to drink and have fun. There is still a lot of time to deal with. Please tell me everything about Pixie recently. I want to see if he has any new activities recently." After Shen Long said these words, Fuxi was stunned for a moment. He didn't quite understand why Shen Long had been paying attention to Pixie and sent so many people to stay with Sai. Originally, he thought something had happened to Pixie problem, but judging from Pixie's behavior in the past few days, he is not a bad person at all, and he has always stayed in the house honestly, except when he goes out sometimes. After taking a walk, I feel very peaceful at other times. If you value him so much, is there something wrong with him? Shen Long nodded after hearing this, but did not go into details, and Fu Zai did not stay much. Since Shen Long had more important things to do, he naturally would not stand in his way. Then after leaving Fu Zai, after that, Bian went to Pixie's yard. He saw the people he sent, so he waved. When a team leader over there saw this, he immediately ran over and started reporting the recent situation to Shen Long. "I've been very calm recently and haven't done anything strange." Shen Long frowned slightly after hearing this. It's not like his style that Pixie would be so peaceful. Even ordinary people would get bored if they stayed in this place for a long time. And how could Pixie stay in this place all the time? Could it be that he was hatching some plan? What's more, he learned from others that the current Pa Yao was no longer the previous Pa Yao, and he became even more confused. He always felt that this Pa Yao would definitely take action, but it's just that none of them noticed it. What happened at the Dragon Palace in the East China Sea was obviously done by people from the Buddha's side. This must have something to do with Pixie. Maybe they were deliberately causing trouble there to attract his attention. Lead it back, so that you can do some tricks here. Thinking of this, Shen Long's face became a little bad. What he hates most is that others take advantage of him, and what he hates even more is that others take advantage of what he values. Shen Long walked directly into the room. He found that Pixie was very normal. He was sitting in the room, reading a book. He was very happy to see him and asked him to sit down. Shen Long vaguely looked at the people in front of him. "This Pixie, I always feel like something is not quite right. How are you? I heard others say that they haven't gone out much recently. Isn't it boring here?" Pixie shook his head and said that he was very interesting here, and these books were also very beautiful. No matter how Shen Long asked, Pixie always had endless things to say. After observing for a while, Shen Long always felt that the four elements had something to do with it. It's a little strange, but sometimes it's strange. If he hadn't gotten the news from the water spirit Madonna, he might have really thought that Pixie was the person before. Chapter 624. Originally, I was going to guard you here and watch your injuries slowly heal, but I didn't expect that there were some problems at Longan Palace, and the problems were not small. I was forced to go back, but fortunately, the matter has been dealt with. After Pixie heard this, I adjusted my brows and felt that he had some experience. Originally, in order to prevent Shen Long from doubting him, he deliberately did not mention this topic. But I didn't expect that Shen Long would bring it up on his own initiative. Since this was the case, he had been avoiding it, not to talk about it, but it made people feel even more strange. So he took the initiative to start asking, "What happened at Dragon Palace? It was because you were leaving in such a hurry? I guess something big must have happened." Shen Long sighed after hearing this, and told him all the things that happened in the Dragon Palace in one breath. When he said that Our Lady of Water Spirit was arrested by them and was being punished, but it can give us some feelings in front of us. There seemed to be something wrong with this person. After careful observation, Shen Long found that something was wrong with her eyes. The subsequent research had always been superficial, and they looked particularly bright. But at this time, he discovered that something was wrong with her eyes. This person's eyes seemed to be a little darkened. They were completely different from the previous eyes, and the feeling of looking at each other was also different. Only then did Shen Long Jiao confirm that the person in front of him had indeed been tricked. That person is really hateful. He actually did such a thing to Dragon Palace. When Pixie said this hypocritically, he was also blaming the water spirit mother in his heart. He didn't expect that he was so stupid and was caught so quickly. I originally thought that he could delay it for a while, at least until the Buddha came out. But I didn't expect her to be so useless. You can continue to stay here, I have something to deal with. After Shen Long said this, he left. He didn't ask him anything else. Even so, Pixiu always felt something strange. After leaving here, he asked around. After asking around, he learned that Beizi had just returned in the past 2 days, but was leaving again this afternoon. So he immediately found Beizi before he left, and told him everything he had discovered. Beizi opened his eyes in surprise after hearing this, but he quickly accepted him, nodded, and said with some doubts, "Is there really someone who pretends to be so strong in the world?" From the beginning, I felt that something was wrong with Pixiu, but I couldn't tell what was wrong. On the contrary, there is still a familiar feeling that makes me feel that he is the Pixiu from before, so I have never exposed him, but I did not expect that he is really fake. At this point, Beizi began to worry about the safety of the real Pixiu. He was thrown into the cave. After so long, he didn't know what happened to him. He didn't know if he could climb out on his own. So the two of them discussed it for a while. We agreed to go to the previous cave. After so long, I am not sure whether I can find him. I just hope that he is fine. If it comes out on its own, he should be able to get here soon. Shen Long was a little lucky. Fortunately, he asked Our Lady of Water Spirit for the exact location at that time. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for the two of them to find that place. Chapter 625. The two people rushed to the cave as fast as they could, but there was no one in the cave. Seeing this, Beizi only felt a little sad. He came so late. It is estimated that Pixiu waiting below was already impatient. Maybe he had come out on his own a long time ago. Of course, there is another possibility, that is, Pixiu encountered new troubles and was probably dragged out by others. Thinking of this, he shuddered all over, hoping it was the former. If it was the latter, he would definitely not forgive himself. Shen Long accepted this reality calmly after seeing that there was no one in the pit. After all, Pixiu would definitely not be dumbfounded. He would stay there all the time. He patted Beizi on the shoulder and said to him, "Let's go. The two of us will go back and look for him to see if we can find him on the road. I always feel that he probably came out on his own, and he should be able to go back soon." Number 5 nodded after hearing this, hoping that what Shen Long said would be the result. He was afraid that they would not find the person after all their busy work and wasted time. In this way, they walked forward, walking as they did. While searching, they asked the people around them if they had seen Pixiu. However, there was no news along the way. When they returned, they found that the atmosphere around them was vaguely wrong. One of the guards saw Pixiu come over immediately and explained to him, "Pixiu, you are finally back, and now there is a big problem that needs you to deal with." After hearing this, Pixiu was a little confused about what it was. Trouble can change the atmosphere here. Then he and Shen Long continued to walk inside. After walking for a long time, they saw everyone around them. Over there in the square, Pixiu squeezed forward, and when he reached the front, he was stunned for a moment, and Shen Long was also stunned after seeing it. How is this going? How come there are two Pixiu? After one of the people told Beizi about this matter, Beizi shook his head. Although he seemed to know nothing on the surface, he knew better than anyone in his heart that one of the two Pixiu was a fake. Yes, the other one is real. As for which one is fake and which one is real, he can't tell in a short time. He just feels that the two people are very similar. "Beizi, you are finally back. Come and help me tell the difference. This fake Pixiu dares to pretend to be me." At this moment, a Pixiu suddenly walked in and said to Beizi, "Don't touch him randomly. You are the fake one." The other Pixiu was obviously very unconvinced, and then the two of them started to quarrel, which made everyone around them feel a special headache. This is a big matter, and naturally you cannot admit your mistake. If you admit your mistake, you will what happened to the real Pixiu. What exactly is going on? Which of these two is real and who is fake? No matter how I look at them, I feel that the two of them are just like the same person, and I can't tell them apart at all. After hearing this, Shen Long took a closer look at the two Pixiu in front of him. He found that the traces on the original fake Pixiu's eyes had disappeared. I thought that the color of his eyes would only change when he was excited, but now no matter how he looked, He couldn't tell which of the two of them was real and who was fake. Chapter 626. So he looked at Baizi beside him. Now he probably had to rely on Baizi. As for whether Baizi could tell the difference, he didn't know. One of them, Pixiu, was obviously a little impatient. He frowned and took a look. Baizi was obviously a little dissatisfied, and even his tone of voice changed a lot. "Why didn't you recognize me for so long? It's a shame that I've been friends with you for so many years." Even though the tone of this Pixiu's words was very strange, no one doubted him but felt that he was the real Pixiu. After all, this is how Pixiu and Baizi usually talk. The two of them were so noisy that it made people feel. I had a headache, but for some reason, Baizi always felt that this person was not the real Pixiu. When Pixiu talked to him, he did not feel any affection but felt particularly stiff. Then he looked at the other Pixiu who stood there quietly, saying nothing, but kept looking at him, and his eyes made him feel particularly familiar. He couldn't help but start to think of the days when he and Pixiu played together. "Okay, you don't need to say anything more to me here, you are just a fake Pixiu." After Baizi said these words, Pixiu was stunned for a moment. He took 2 steps back, frowned and said with great disappointment, "I thought you could tell." "It seems that I thought too much. He is obviously fake. If you don't believe it, you can conduct any verification on me. I am not afraid of anything. I am who I am. No one can replace me." On the contrary, he came back so late. Don't you doubt where he went? After Pixiu said these words, everyone recalled that this Pixiu came back with Shen Long and the others from beginning to end. But another Pixiu suddenly jumped out halfway, so everyone believed in this Pixiu even more. Baizi, who was next to him, shook his head, grabbed Pixiu's hand, and felt his bones. He didn't know what method was used for this Pixiu. Even the bones were very similar, but he could still feel it. There seems to be something wrong with the position of the bones. This is definitely fake. Okay, you don't have to be fooled by his appearance and his words. Is it possible that I still can't tell whether this is true or false? You have been pretending to be Pixiu recently. Have you had enough? Even if the real owner comes back, you don't panic at all, and you still want to beat him up and say that he is a fake. Speaking of this, Baizi was full of impatience. He thought of the grievances Pixiu had suffered recently, and he felt even more angry. The people around him were particularly surprised after hearing this. They had their own feelings from the beginning. Most of the people involved thought that this Pixiu was real, but now Baizi said that it was a fake, and they fell into deep thought after that. They didn't know Pixiu that well, and they could only rely on their own feelings, make a choice. But Baizi and Pixiu have been playmates since childhood. Since Baizi said that this Pixiu is fake, 9 times out of 10 he is fake. Even if he admits his mistake in the end, they cannot be blamed. Since Baizi has said so, then this Pixiu must be fake, so there is no need to think too much. Chapter 627. Obviously, fake Pixiu did not expect that all the people who supported him before would support others so soon. This made it difficult for him to accept that he had said so many good things to them just now. It seemed that any good words were useless. These people were really a bunch of losers. He looked at Baizi again, and there was something clearly wrong in his eyes. If Baizi hadn't suddenly said that he was lying, those people probably wouldn't have noticed them at all. Just when the fake Pixiu line was about to approach Baizi, Shen Long suddenly stopped him and slapped him with a palm. Seeing this, fake Pixiu quickly took 2 steps back, trying to avoid the attack. But Shen Long's attack was much more powerful than he imagined. He was unable to dodge and suffered the attack severely, and soon his disguise was no longer sustainable. Before he was not injured, he could barely cope with these people by pretending, but now that he was so seriously injured, naturally he could not continue to pretend. Soon everyone discovered that the original Pixiu turned into a cow. You have done so many wrong things, and you still want to pretend to be someone from our side. If this is the case, don't blame me for being ruthless to you. You brought it all on yourself. After saying this, the man and Luo Hu started fighting. The people around him took 2 steps back when they saw this, obviously fearing that they would be affected. But Shen Long was fighting more and more seriously. His attacks became more and more fierce, making Luo Hu feel that he couldn't support him and regretted it. Why did he show his face so quickly? If he still insisted on saying that he was telling the truth, maybe Shen Long wouldn't be right. He made a big move. Take the move and let me see what you're really capable of. As soon as Shen Long finished saying this, before launching a new round of attacks, he found that Lao Niu suddenly stopped. Lao Niu changed his appearance again. Now he looks like a human and a demon, and there is an iron ring on his nose. Looks extremely ugly. Before I begin, there are a few things I want to say. After hearing this, Shen Long stopped the attack without thinking much. Although he was not a person who would stop at critical moments, he wanted to hear what this old cow had to say. Everyone was all ears. Originally, they thought the old cow would have something to say, but what they didn't expect was that the old cow actually put his hands on his hips and started to curse at them. You are a bunch of trash. You are just a pile of grass on the wall. If Shen Long hadn't been here, I would have dealt with you long ago. Speaking of this, Lao Niu remembered the scene of these people's temporary rebellion again, which made him even more unhappy. The faces of those who were scolded changed after hearing it, and they were obviously dissatisfied. Shen Long, you don't have to give him a chance to continue. He doesn't deserve it. You'd better deal with him as soon as possible. After Shen Long heard this, he was not in a hurry to attack. He wanted to see what else this old cow had to say. What Shen Long didn't expect was that the old cow actually started to mock him. Shen Long, you are the one who deserves to be scolded the most. Everyone says you are smart, brave and resourceful, but who would have thought that you would be played around by me and you haven't discovered my true identity after so long? If it wasn't for Basie, if so, I guess you really fell into my trap. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 628. After hearing this, Shen Long couldn't help but feel ridiculous. He still had the nerve to come and ridicule him now? Have you forgotten how I caught and dealt with the people on your side? After Shen Long said these words, it was obvious that Lao Niu's face changed. He snorted angrily at Shen Long, obviously unconvinced to the extreme. Shen Long knew that Lao Niu was very concerned about this aspect. I guess I was particularly concerned about the matter, so I just added more fuel and vinegar and continued talking. By the way, there are still a lot of those bugs and they haven't been used up. I'll catch you later and I'll feed you to the bugs. After saying this, Shen Long laughed arrogantly. Looking at Lao Niu's ugly face, Shen Long felt particularly satisfied and couldn't wait to see Lao Niu get angry. You are so deceptive. Originally, Lao Niu wanted to fight Shen Long, but he thought that Shen Long was stronger than him, and once they started fighting, he would most likely be beaten badly. If it was serious, he might even be beaten by a group of people. Don't you just want to provoke me into a fight with you? Let me make it clear here. Everyone is a person who knows etiquette and will not do anything casually. After Shen Long and Basie heard this, they looked at each other and obviously had nothing to say. When Pixiu next to him saw this, the corner of his mouth twitched. If you really knew etiquette, you wouldn't impersonate me. Shen Long didn't want to talk nonsense to him. I've said what I shouldn't have said. Now it's your turn to be beaten. After saying this, Shen Long suddenly launched an attack. Lao Niu was caught off guard and was beaten upside down. The other people laughed when they saw this. I thought he was some kind of powerful character, but he didn't expect that he only has this little ability and dares to shout that we can't do it. The others smiled so brightly, which is obviously a kind of punishment for a self-respecting person. Everyone originally thought that Lao Niu would be angry, but even if he didn't dare to provoke Shen Long and didn't dare to take action, he would still refute a few times. The words came out quickly, but what no one expected was that he did retaliate this time. But he broke out in earth-shattering news. Just smile. It is very likely that this will be your last smile. You may not live long. Before you die, I will let you be happy for a while. Calculating the time, the Buddha has probably come out, and I will be like a fish in water again. After other people heard the news, their expressions changed. But some people comforted themselves and thought that it was all fake. Shen Long did not have any obvious reaction, because he had been prepared before. He had thought that this was possible before. The reason why Luo Hu stayed here was that he was not afraid of taking any trouble or being discovered, and had been working diligently. This showed that 9 times out of 10, he had his own ideas. Now Shen Long, it's certain that Luo Hu's real purpose here is for Buddha. It's just that Luo Hu was not very lucky to meet him. If Luo Hu had met someone else, he might have succeeded. Just before Shen Long, when I wanted to quickly feel it and go to see the Buddha, a little guard suddenly ran over. His face looked a little bad, which made people involuntarily think that something bad had happened. Buddha is missing. After he finished saying these words, the expressions of the people present obviously turned sinister. Chapter 629. When he heard that someone dared to come to rob the prison, Shen Long was naturally extremely shocked at this moment. The prison was almost completely surrounded inside and out. I didn't expect that someone would be bold enough to try to rob the prison. After hearing this, the old cow in front of him suddenly burst into laughter. At this moment, the expression on the old cow's face looked particularly mocking. I have long known that you people are just a bunch of rabble. It seems that I guessed it right. You guys are just a bunch of rabble. There is no way you can be our opponent. The old cow in front of him was furious at first, but after hearing this, he seemed particularly excited, and this also made Shen Long couldn't help but start to doubt in his heart. He couldn't help but look at it coldly. Looking at the old cow in front of him, Shen Long directly pointed the tip of his knife at her. Seeing that you look so excited, you should know where Buddha is. Tell me where Buddha is, maybe I can seriously consider sparing you. If you continue to be stubborn, this is where you will die today. The sword in his hand sparkled under the sunlight, and after hearing this, the laughter of the old cow in front of him began to get louder, and the other party kept laughing loudly. This ignorant brat who came out of nowhere dares to come over and threaten your grandpa and me. He doesn't even check whether he has what it takes. He doesn't go back and take a look at what he looks like. After saying this, Luo Hu stretched out his neck directly. He still didn't believe it. He didn't believe that Shen Long could really kill him this time. If you really dare to kill me, then you can just kill me casually. I will directly bet you that you will not dare to kill me at all. We will wait and see. After seeing this situation, Shen Long felt even more angry. It seems that this old cow has grasped his weakness. Now I just want to know the specific location of the Buddha. If you can tell me the specific location, you can do it. As long as you can know where the Buddha is, you can successfully prevent the next thing. But if you still can't find the Buddha, things will become more and more troublesome. It is precisely because Shen Long has been thinking about it in his heart. They all knew this very well, so he couldn't let the old cow in front of him die no matter what. The people around him had already frowned tightly. When everyone saw the old cow looking like he would rather die than surrender, at the same time, I felt a little panicked in my heart. This time, the old cow looked so confident. Could it be because the old cow was really ready to die? Just those people around him were still when he couldn't help but think about it in his heart. The current Luo Hu curled up the corner of his mouth and smiled coldly, and his tone sounded particularly disdainful. Grandpa, I have told you a long time ago that I have no idea where the Buddha is. If you continue to ask, then I will commit suicide directly and I will not tell you until I die. Chapter 630. The old cow in front of him was indeed a man of backbone, and after hearing these words, Shen Long felt a little headache. People with backbone are the ones that give people the most headaches. If it were the kind of person who could scare something out of someone just by scaring him, then the person in front of him would naturally be nothing to fear. But this old cow happened to have a backbone. The people around him looked very angry. Maybe they just couldn't understand how arrogant the old cow in front of them was. Do you really think we dare not kill you? With your arrogant attitude, if it weren't for our kindness, you would have died countless times by now. Some people began to curse angrily in his ears, but after hearing these words, Shen Long's heart sank. He really couldn't kill this old cow in this situation. The old cow in front of him, he is the only person they have come into contact with recently who knows the specific location of the Buddha. If they kill this old cow again, they will not know where the Buddha is. There are people around them who keep shouting, "Stay here! What are you doing with this monster?" I think it would be better to kill him directly. Anyway, I won't get any information from his mouth. The attitudes of the people around him seemed to be getting more and more angry, but after hearing this, Shen Long shook his head gently. He is the one who can least be carried away by anger. No, we have to keep this old cow now. Maybe it will come in handy later. Let's lock him up. After saying this, Shen Long sighed. The brothers around him seemed a little aggrieved. And right here, Shen Long just wanted to let his brothers kill Lao Niu. When it was locked up, it suddenly seemed to remember something. I'd better put it in prison myself. If we can get information from this old cow in the future, then our work this time will be considered not in vain. After saying this, Shen Long personally escorted the old cow in front of him to the dungeon. Before leaving, the old cow kept shouting, "It is impossible for you to get any information from my mouth. If you are interested, I advise you to get out quickly. If you dare to go against me again, I will sell your information to others. Go there." The old cow in his ear was really talking casually. After hearing this, Shen Long couldn't help but rolled his eyes. The useful news of this old cow is useless if he doesn't say a word. There are a lot of cursing messages here. I advise you to save your energy a little. If you really want to stay in the dungeon, well, then you should save your energy. I am locking you up against the will of my men. After saying this, Shen Long directly locked Lao Niu into one of the prisons. When he walked out of the prison, he was going to take a look at the cell where Buddha was previously held. The cell where Buddha was held was actually a very strong cell, but why the other party suddenly disappeared has always been a mystery. After lightly knocking on the wall inside the cell, Shen Long suddenly felt something strange, because the wall sounded like it's hollow. Chapter 631. This is really weird. Could it be that there is something else behind this wall? After thinking of this, Shen Long took out his sword directly. He split the thing in front of him with all his strength. At the same time, Shen Long just looked at the big hole in front of him quietly. The thing in front of him was the big hole has always been behind this cell, and Shen Long never knew about this big hole before. At this moment, Shen Long suddenly understood. No wonder the Buddha suddenly seemed to evaporate from the world. It turns out that it is because of this big hole. The doubts in his heart before have been solved long ago, and at this moment, Shen Long can't help but frown. It seems that he must take good care of himself this time. Just think about it. Just when Shen Long here couldn't help but feel doubt in his heart. At the same time, a subordinate hurriedly ran over from outside. The subordinate in front of him saw this big hole afterwards. The expression on his face became very surprised, and Shen Long immediately hurried to Fuxi that afternoon and reported everything he saw in the cell today. Today I went to take a look inside the cell where Buddha was imprisoned. I found that there was a big hole in the cell where Buddha was held. He probably escaped through that big hole. We were indeed negligent this time. After hearing this, Fuxi couldn't help but frowned. He didn't expect that the Buddha could still be indented when he was imprisoned in prison. Master, Buddha has come with a large group of people, and they have all arrived at our door now. One of his subordinates hurried over to report. After hearing this, Shen Long felt that he was not well. He originally wanted to investigate where the Buddha had gone, but he did not expect that the other party would send him directly this time. Come to the door. In fact, Shen Long has always felt a little angry in his heart. He had already locked people in his cell, but he was still escaped by others. After hearing this, Fuxi also gently nodded. It seems that this time the Buddha came to provoke them on purpose. Fuxi here had not had time to let the group of people outside come in. At this moment, a voice had already come to his ears. Qilin, it seems that these old friends of mine have already gathered here. It's a coincidence that I came here today. I didn't expect that I would bump into you. The Buddha's figure appeared at the door. After hearing this voice, Shen Long couldn't help but turn his fist fiercely. At this moment, his heart was already burning with anger, but after all, the person in front of him, this Buddha, is accompanied by a large group of people, so she must not do anything now. The Buddha just sat on the chair next to him carelessly. When he saw Shen Long, he pretended to be surprised. Said, I thought who it was. Isn't this our famous Shen Long? The walls in your cell are really not strong. You can strengthen them when you go back in the future. After saying this, Buddha smiled directly at Fuxi in front of him. You must pay attention to this in the future. The walls of the cell must be repaired completely. Chapter 632. The tone sounded particularly mocking, and after hearing this, Shen Long suddenly raised his head. What he couldn't stand the most was the way the man in front of him was showing off his power. Fuxi next to him did not speak from beginning to end, but after Buddha entered the room, he could never stop talking. I didn't expect that you would make mistakes in such a small thing. If I had known that you had made mistakes in such a small thing, then I shouldn't have been afraid at all. The tone when she spoke was too mocking, and after hearing this, Shen Long felt that she couldn't suppress it. She stared at the man in front of her. I just escaped once. That's all. Do you think you can hook up every time? The matter has not yet come to a conclusion. I will definitely arrest you again when the time comes. Since the Buddha has been arrested the first time, Shen Long is confident in his heart that he will be able to arrest the Buddha again. But after hearing this, the Buddha suddenly ha-ha laughing. At this moment he was looking at the men around him casually. Did you see that? People actually thought they could arrest me again. The first time was a lucky enough one. Is it possible that God can always be on your side? The subordinates around him had already laughed in cooperation, and just when Shen Long here was about to say something, the Buddha in front of him suddenly overturned the table. If it weren't for my carelessness the first time, what qualifications do you think you have to catch me? Do you really think that your three-legged cat skills can be used in front of me? The table had long been shaken into pieces. If it weren't for Shen Long pulling Fuxi back in time, Fuxi might have been injured by these pieces. The Buddha in front of him looked really serious. It was too arrogant, and at this moment the other party was sneering coldly and saying, I'm here today to tell you something. If you don't learn a lesson in the future, don't blame me for increasing my efforts. Don't think about getting away with it again. After hearing this, Shen Long felt that the anger in his heart was about to rush up. The reason why Buddha was able to rush to Fuxi carelessly this time must be because he had already made preparations. If it weren't for the fact that the old cow was imprisoned in the prison today, Shen Long might not have thought that Buddha would break a big hole in the prison. And when he thought of the big hole in the wall, Shen Long at this moment was even more confused. He took a deep breath angrily, and the expression on Fuxi's face next to him also looked ugly. Today is just a reminder to you. If you don't get cured again, I won't be merciful next time. After saying this, Buddha left angrily, leaving only Shen Long and Fuxi, who were shaking with anger. They really didn't expect that Buddha would be so arrogant this time. Chapter 633. Although they knew that Buddha was very arrogant before, they did not expect that the other party would dare to come here directly to declare war. When it was just dawning the next morning, Buddha's side had already led people to launch an attack, and Shen Long couldn't sleep well that night. Buddha's attitude made everyone feel uncomfortable, and when he thought that Buddha was still at large, Shen Long felt that he couldn't swallow this breath in his heart. Did he really not expect that things would turn out like this? Especially when she thought of Buddha carelessly showing off in front of Fuxi, she felt that she had to give him a blow this time. When the first glimmer of light appeared in the sky, the people led by Buddha had already launched a direct attack. At the same time, Shen Long had already led Beizi and others to guard the city gate. Seeing that the group of people in front of him were about to rush forward, Beizi looked at the group of people in front of him in disbelief. They actually declared war on us this time. It seems that Buddha has made up his mind this time. This will probably be a hard battle. This will indeed be a tough battle. No wonder the Buddha was so arrogant yesterday. It turned out that he had already made all the preparations. Looking at the mighty army in front of him, in fact, Shen Long didn't even know that this time whether he could win, and he was still a little worried. The things that happened a few days ago were really weird. It was for this reason that Shen Long was a little worried about Beizi and Paiziyu. Paiziyu around him was very carefree. What do you care about these messy things? Just catch them all in one go. After hearing this, Beizi rolled his eyes directly. If they could really be caught all at once, how could things become so difficult? Buddha had already surprised them by escaping from the prison. If the current opponent makes any more trouble, they will definitely be even more unbelievable. Watching helplessly, the group of people in front of them are about to rush out. At the same time, Shen Long looks worried. He glanced at Beizi and Paiziyu. You two must be careful when fighting for a while. If you find someone specifically targeting you, retreat immediately if you find you can't beat them. I feel like they are watching you." This is just Shen Long's intuition. But Shen Long's intuition has basically never made any mistakes before, and he has already felt the atmosphere on the battlefield from the beginning. Although Beizi and Pixiu said that they had just joined the battle, but the fighting abilities of the two should not be underestimated at all, and the people on the Buddha's side should have already heard the gossip. After hearing this, Beizi nodded seriously, nodding. Maybe someone on the Buddha's side was indeed watching them, and they definitely couldn't take it lightly. He rushed out suddenly. Shen Long was actually more relieved about Beizi, because Beizi did things more safely. But the only thing he couldn't worry about was Pixiu. "You must listen to me clearly. If you find someone you can't defeat, retreat immediately. Don't be reluctant to fight." Chapter 634. Before leaving, Shen Long directly gave a death order to Pixiu. After hearing this, Pixiu in front of him shook his hand casually. At this moment, the situation on the battlefield had already become unoptimistic, and just when Shen Long was about to attack, he suddenly discovered that Lao Niu had been released from prison. The two sides on the battlefield have long been jealous. This old cow was personally escorted to the prison. How could he suddenly appear here? The mood in his heart became more and more angry, and at the same time, Shen Long also directly criticized Lao Niu. He did not expect that this monster would escape from the prison so quickly. The previous Buddha also spent a lot of effort to escape, and he also directly penetrated the wall behind his prison. But at that time, Lao Niu's hands and feet had obviously been tied up. How could this Lao Niu escape from the prison again? Could it be because there is a traitor in the city? Now was not the time for Shen Long to think about these messy things. At that moment, she could only angrily raise the sword in her hand and strike hard at the old cow in front of her. The old cow in front of it was also fighting the enemy bravely, and when it saw that Shen Long had discovered it, the expression on its face began to become more and more abnormal. "You didn't expect it. You didn't expect me to escape from that hellish place of yours so quickly, did you? You didn't expect me to escape so quickly, did you?" The mocking voice in his ear sounded particularly sarcastic. At this moment, Shen Long held a sword in his hand tightly, and the voice of the old cow in front of him kept coming to his ears. "Do you think that scraps of metal like you can really control me? You really underestimate me, right? It seems like you guys have really never done your homework." Shen Long is not willing to listen to this nonsense at all. The most important thing for her now is to quickly destroy these people in front of her. Time is going slowly like this, and Shen is here. When Long and Lao Niu were fighting, he suddenly saw Beizi and Pixiu surrounded. Shen Long had always felt nervous in his heart before, because he felt that the people on the Buddha's side seemed to be specially watching Beizi and Pixiu. As expected, after discovering that these two people were trapped in the encirclement, Shen Long desperately wanted to go over and rescue him. However, the old cow next to him actually saw through Shen Long's thoughts and came to Shen Long in a flash. In front of him, Lao Niu at this moment curled up the corners of his mouth and smiled. "You loser, do you think I can let you go so easily? Stop daydreaming, okay? Do you think I can let you go so easily?" Lao Niu's face looked particularly evil, while Beizi and Pixiu on the other side had already been surrounded. The two tried hard to break through the encirclement, but they couldn't break through the encirclement at all. At the moment Pixiu's hand already has a scar, but he still won't give in like the monsters in front of him. "You monsters, trying to trap me just by relying on your mere abilities is really outrageous and a daydream." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 635. Bei's Pixiu was attacked, and they tried desperately to get out of each other's control. But when they had no way to rush forward, all the enemies surrounded them. Shen Long realized something was wrong and rushed over immediately, but at this moment Bei's Pixiu was suppressed by the enemy. He knew that Bei's Pixiu couldn't escape at this moment, and Baiyu was very angry in his heart. He saw the enemy approaching fiercely, and he came prepared. The people around him also went to help, but they watched Bei's Pixie being taken away. There were many injured people around. Shen Long looked back and saw that many people had been injured and passed out, and many people had fallen into a pool of blood. The two sides were fighting fiercely just now. When Shen Long realized that these people had come prepared, he felt very vigilant. Seeing that these people in front of him were trying to kill each other, they must have come for them. Fuck me. Everyone was shouting and rushing forward, but Shen Long was entangled by several people. Seeing Bei's Pixie being taken away, Shen Long shouted at the man and asked him to put Bei's Pixie down. But now that they have caught it, how could they let it go? He took Bei's Pixie and left here, and the enemy gradually retreated. When Shen Long was about to rush forward, he suddenly stopped and realized in his heart that they might be delaying him. Looking back, he saw that most of the people around him had fallen. If he left now, then maybe the other party was trying to divert the tiger away from the mountain. What should he do then? All these people were injured. He had to stay and take good care of these people. Shen Long looked in the direction of Bei's Pixie again. I saw that Bei's Pixie was being taken away by someone, and he was almost out of sight, so he had no choice but to turn around and go back to where he was. They took Bei's Pixie away. We have to rescue him quickly. We can't let him be taken away like this. The uninjured people were about to go forward and follow him. If Bei's Pixie was captured, they might not know how he would be treated. So they were all worried, but Shen Long stopped the man's behavior. He seriously suspected that Bei's Pixie was the person they had long admired was deliberately stalling for time, so they took the opportunity to capture Bei's Pixie. They must not catch up now. If we go now, I'm afraid none of our people will survive. We can't go now, so just stay here. I need to count the number of people now. When Shen Long saw so many injured people, he naturally wanted to deal with things here quickly. As for Bei's Pixie's matter, there was plenty of time to save him, and he knew that those people would never hurt Bei's Pixie himself. There must be a chance to save him. Okay, let's count the number of people first. After everyone said what Shen Long said, they agreed. Shen Long walked forward and counted all the people. He made sure that no one was missing except Bei's Pixie. Only then did he become worried. There are really too many injured people, which is extremely detrimental to us. If the enemy makes a sneak attack again, we will be unable to fight against it. Shen Long said to everyone. Those people also looked worried, and they all understood the meaning of his words. Chapter 636. Shen Long took a closer look and saw that there were many injured people. In this situation, these wounded people must be sent away as soon as possible to avoid attracting the enemy's attention again. Everyone, please send the injured back first, and you should return to the original place and stand by. No matter what happens, you must not come out easily, and you must not fight back easily. I believe the enemy will still keep an eye on us. Shen Long gave instructions to everyone. He thought that he had to follow the old cow and wanted to know where Bei's Pixie was being held. Only by knowing his location would it be easier to rescue him. After everyone listened to Shen Long's words, they immediately agreed. All the injured people were carried away from here one by one, and Shen Long also noticed that Lao Naiu had not left. How far? Now that Bei's Pixie has been captured by Lao Naiu, he must follow quickly. After he sees all the merchants being carried away, he hurries in the direction where Bei's Pixie left just now. After passing through a dense forest, Shen Long saw several mountains in front of him, and those people with Bei's Pixie had already jumped over the mountains. He could only rush to the other side of the mountains. When Shen Long finally found those mountains when he was missing, he suddenly saw Lao Naiu pressing down on Bei's Pixie. He couldn't help but feel happy. Then he could find a way to rescue Bei's Pixie. Shen Long hid quietly aside, only to see Lao Naiu pressing down on him. Bei's Pixie, and Bei's Pixie was very reluctant and kept struggling. If you continue to struggle, I will tie you up immediately so that you cannot move. I will see how you can move forward obediently. Lao Naiu couldn't help but feel angry when he saw Bei's Pixie struggling so hard, and kicked him on the back. Both Bei's and Pixie turned their heads and glared at him. Why are you staring? No matter how much you stare, you have to obey me and stay in jail. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you. Lao Naiu knew that Bei's Pixiu was brought back by an attack, so he was naturally very reluctant. But no matter what, he had been captured and it was impossible to let him go. Shen Long hid in the dark and watched quietly. Looking at it, he found that Beizi and Paiziyu were imprisoned in the cell by Lao Naiu. He couldn't help but understand in his heart that they would definitely interrogate Bazi and Paiziyu. Then it would be more convenient for him to come here. When he saw Lao Naiu come out and leave, Shen Long felt in his heart thinking of ways to rescue Bei's Pixiu as soon as possible. Do you really think that you can arrest my people however you want? Since I already know, I will never let you get what you want today. I want to see who you send to guard and whether they are my opponents. Shen Long hid there and waited quietly, knowing in his heart that the person who took action must be very strict, and he could only wait until the right time to take action. Although he can't wait to rescue Bei's Pixiu now, but Shen Long still endured and remembered the battle just now. If he hadn't been careless, Bei's Pixiu would never have been captured by them. But despite this, now he can only rescue people secretly. Behind the prison in the middle, Bei's Pixiu is sitting there, not knowing what the situation is now. Thinking of the people on Shen Long's side just now, he is very worried about the experiences of many injured people. Chapter 637. After watching helplessly that Lao Naiu had put Beizi and Paiziyu into the cell, Shen Long felt extremely angry in his heart at this moment. If it weren't for these people suddenly using some despicable means, things would never have turned out like this. The more he thought about it, the more he felt a little angry in his heart. At the same time, Shen Long just looked at the guards around him quietly. The few guards around him must have been guarding the prison for many years, so Lao Naiu felt particularly at ease with these people. After finally waiting for Lao Naiu to leave, Shen Long was just about to stand up when the sound of very rapid footsteps suddenly came to his ears. If I heard correctly, the sound of hurried footsteps just now must be the sound of Buddha's footsteps. Sure enough, just when Shen Long here was hiding, the Buddha in front of him had already walked over with a big belly, and the expression on his face looked particularly proud. Since Shen Long kept his head down quietly, Buddha did not notice anything fishy at all. He walked directly to the cell where Beizi and Pixiu were detained. I can give you two a chance this time. If you two can take refuge in me, then I will naturally not treat you badly in the future. After hearing this, Shen Long finally realized, no wonder this time the Buddha focused on catching the two of them. It turned out that he wanted to bribe the two of them. Please listen carefully to me. If you really want to survive, then you'd better obey me now. I can give you everything you want next. After hearing this, the expressions on the faces of Beizi and Pixiu in front of them had already become extremely impatient, especially Beizi, who gradually became excited after hearing this. Beizi fiercely he spat at the Buddha in front of him. Who do you think you are? How dare someone like you show off your power in front of the two of us? This move was indeed something that Buddha never expected. At this moment, Buddha couldn't help but frown. Pa Yao was also furious at the moment. How dare an evil person like you dare to do this? If you appear in front of the two of us, you won't be afraid that the two of us will kill you directly. While listening to these words, Shen Long actually felt a little bit uneasy in his heart. He really didn't expect that Pixiu would say such words. In any case, he is still in the Buddha on their territory. If the Buddha is really angered, some unreasonable disasters will probably happen. Beizi looked aggrieved. Don't think that you can control the two of us by arresting us. You are not worthy of controlling us. You are not worthy at all. After saying such words, the Buddha in front of him suddenly sneered coldly, and when Shen Long here couldn't figure out what the other person's sneer meant, the Buddha suddenly shook his sleeves and walked away. Before leaving, Buddha was still there asking, aren't the two of them willing to follow Shen Long? Then let him show his loyalty well and don't give him anything to eat. Chapter 638. After working on it for a long time, it turns out that the so-called Buddha only has this ability, but people are like iron, rice and steel. If they don't eat, it is estimated that Beizi and Paiziyu will not be able to maintain their health soon. Moreover, what happened this time was already a waste of energy. If we cut off all food again, we probably wouldn't be able to hold on for a few days. After watching the Buddha walk away with Lao Naiu, Shen Long here finally sneaked out. He had to get these two out. There were people changing shifts in the prison itself. In the beginning, Shen Long stayed in the corner and didn't talk to anyone. And seeing that it was almost time to change shifts, Shen Long immediately knocked out the person who was about to change shifts. He hurriedly changed into the man's clothes, and Shen Long also added a coat to himself. After changing everything, he walked to the prison with a rice bowl in hand. The other people in the dungeon were drinking and having fun, and they didn't even notice Shen Long's little move. Some monsters speak particularly arrogantly. Don't worry, Buddha will definitely protect us this time. If Buddha doesn't even protect us, then who else can he protect? The voice sounded. It sounded very sarcastic, and after hearing this, Shen Long couldn't help but frown tightly. Baizi and Paiziyu also knew that they would not be able to eat anything today, but they were not afraid at all. Compared to working hard for the Buddha, they would rather never eat again in their lives, since they could still stay on the Kang for a while. At this moment, Baizi couldn't help but sigh. The two of us are really rubbish. If the two of us could go back smoothly, we would have already held a celebration banquet by now, right? After hearing this, Shen Long couldn't help but burst into laughter. He placed the meals he had just secretly taken on the table. I know you haven't eaten much in the past few days, so you'd better eat something quickly now so that others won't find out. Now Shen Long has long been disguised as another person. After hearing this, Baizi and Paiziyu looked a little surprised. They did not expect that someone would come to deliver food to them behind their backs. They were stunned. After a moment, Pixiu suddenly said coldly, "Don't think that I don't know what you are thinking in your heart. You just want us to eat these things and go on the road. Isn't this stuff poisonous?" Pixiu has always been very wary, and after hearing this, Shen Long once again shook his head helplessly. Anyway, there was no one else around him looking at him, so Shen Long took it off directly. He took off his disguise mask. "You two are smart. If you don't eat anymore, you will all starve to death in this hellish place. Being vigilant should be considered a good thing." After hearing this, Baizi and Pixiu hurriedly came over. At this moment, Shen Long was comforting. "I'm figuring it out. Their habits will get you out soon." Chapter 639. Shen Long wanted to get these two men out from the beginning, but the guards in this dungeon happened to be strict. If it hadn't been for him giving food to Baizi and Paiziyu, maybe no one would have cared about their lives. After hearing this, Baizi and Paiziyu finally had some idea in their hearts. Fortunately, Shen Long was smart this time. Watching others still having fun there, Shen Long secretly sent these meals to their dungeon. "You must hide all these things, and you must not let anyone find you eating, otherwise they will most likely notice my presence." This place is indeed extraordinary. It is precisely for this reason that Shen Long wanted to lurk secretly in this dungeon for a while, before he figured out what kind of place this place was. Shen Long would never she might act rashly, and the only thing she had to do before that was to take good care of Baizi and Paiziyu. This afternoon, after Shen Long finally figured out the order of all shifts, just after he was about to go find Baizi and Paiziyu, he suddenly discovered that there were other people in the dungeon. At this moment, Lao Niu kept saying there, "Those who know the current affairs are heroes. Is it possible that you still want to carry on? Go down?" After hearing this, Shen Long immediately ran to the side secretly. He wanted to hear what the old cow would say. The old cow's voice sounded very helpless. "Look at how tortured the two of you are. If you don't surrender to the Buddha quickly, neither of you will be able to save your lives. Is it all worth it?" After hearing this, Shen Long couldn't help rolling his eyes. He had obviously never missed a meal from Baizi and Paiziyu, and he didn't know where Lao Niu saw these two people torturing them like that. Baizi in front of him snorted coldly. "Buddha is originally an evil monster. If a monster like him lowers his head, then neither of us will be able to raise our heads in this life." When Baizi said these words, he looked confident. He had never looked down on Buddha from the beginning. At the same time, Pa Yao next to him also sneered coldly. "Do you think can we agree if you come here now and say a few words? Let me tell you, I will never collude with you in this life. Originally I wanted to come over to persuade them to surrender to the Buddha quickly, but I didn't expect that they were insulted by the two people in front of me for no reason. After hearing this, Lao Niu suddenly felt angry. Coming from one place, he directly rolled up his sleeves and looked coldly at Baizi and Pai Ziyu in front of him. If you don't drink the toast, you'll have to drink the fine wine. If it weren't for the fact that I always spoke well of you two in front of the Buddha, you would have been dead by now. Now you dare to be so arrogant in front of me. After saying this, Lao Niu immediately took out his weapon. At the same time, he also glanced coldly at the guards behind him. Get out of here right away. You are absolutely not allowed to come in without any instructions from me. If anyone dares to come in, don't blame me for being rude. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.